Hello, everybody. My name is Carlos Nolasco, and today I want to share with you my presentation, which is about culture and language as discourse. Natalia Olivier is supporting me in this presentation with some interesting ideas that she later on includes in this presentation. Let's see a brief introduction about this topic. Culture and language are two closely related concepts. Culture is the set of beliefs, values, customs, and practices that characterize a social group, while language is the communication system used by members of that group to express their ideas and feelings. Language is a fundamental part of culture, as it allows members of a group to communicate with each other and share their ideas and experiences. Language also reflects the culture of a group, as it contains words and expressions that are specific to that culture. Let's see a brief approach about culture and language as discourse. Culture and language are closely related, since language is a fundamental part of culture and culture is expressed through language. Language is a communication system that allows members of a community to share ideas, knowledge, and experiences. It is also a way of expressing cultural identity and transmitting it from generation to generation. Culture, on the other hand, is the set of beliefs, values, customs, and practice that characterize a group, a social group. Culture is expressed through language, music, dance, art, and other forms of expressions. Culture and language are two inseparable elements that influence each other. Language is a fundamental part of culture, and culture is expressed through language. Okay, now let's talk about the relationship between culture and language. The relationship between culture and language is complex and bidirectional. On the one hand, culture influences language since it determines the words and expressions that are used in the language. On the other hand, language also influences culture since it can transmit cultural values and beliefs. According to Sapir Edward, 1921, the study of culture and language as discourse is an interdisciplinary field that deals with the relationship between these two concepts. This field of study is based on the idea that language is a form of discourse that can be used to express and transmit cultural ideas and meaning. He also states that the study of culture and language as discourse has a wide range of application, including education, intercultural communication, and translation. This field of study can also be used to better understand the culture of a social group and how it relates to their language. As for language, it is presented in all spheres of society without distinction of gender, social stratum, and or academic training. We all use language, that is why from it is possible to carry out cultural analysis of the speakers, how they relate to others, interpret, and dialogue with other cultures. Now let's talk about the importance of speech in culture and language. First of all, we have the idea that transfer of value in discourse in culture and language is a concept that refers to the way in which cultural values are transmitted through language. This can be happen in several ways, such as through the words we use. The words we use to describe the world around us can reflect our cultural values. For example, in some culture, the word madre is considered a word of great respect, while in other cultures it is considered a more informal word, such as the case in Spain. Second, through the way we speak. The way we speak can also reflect our cultural values. For example, in some cultures, it is considered impolite to speak loudly, while in other cultures, it is considered a way to express confidence. For example, in Venezuela, people from the west part of the country tend to speak very loud, while people from the Andes, for instance, try to speak or tend to speak a little bit softer. The transfer of values in discourse in cultural and language is a complex concept that can have a significant impact on the way we think and act. By being aware of the way cultural values are transmitted through language, we can be more aware of our own values and how these can influence our communication with others. Through the story we tell is another way that influence the speech. The story we tell can also reflect our cultural values. For example, in some cultures, stories are used to teach children about important values, while in other cultures, they are used to entertain. Now let's see how culture and language are incorporated in discourse. We have three big groups. Discourse plays a fundamental role in culture and language, since it is through speech that people express their idea, transmit knowledge, relate to each other, and construct shared meanings. Discourse not only reflects the culture and way of thinking of a society, but also contribute to its formation and transformation, according to Meyer a 2008. According to Machine D and Meyer A 2012, in media and social culture, there has been an increasing interest in incorporating detailed linguistic analysis in the study of social and cultural processes, highlighting the important role discourse theory can play, especially critical discourse analysis. Regarding language as social practice, critical discourse analysis aims to explore the relationship between language, power, and ideology. Therefore, it focuses is not so much on a detailed description of linguistic features as on an interpretation of the relationship between discourse structures and social structure. As for cultural identity, it is a complex concept that refers to the way in which individuals and groups define themselves in relation to their culture. Pozo M. 2011 states that it is influenced by a variety of factors such as ethnicity, religion, language, social class, and geographic location. Cultural identity can have a significant impact on discourse in culture and language. For example, individuals who identify strongly with their culture may be more likely to use their words and phrases to reflect their cultural identity. They may also be more likely to talk about topics that are important in their culture. In contrast, individuals who do not identify strongly with their culture may be more likely to use words and phrases that are more generated and less specific to their culture. They may also be more likely to talk about topics that are more common in a society at large. For instance, when people immigrate to other countries or to other cultures, they tend to adopt the culture that they get involved uh, in order to be more accepted in this culture. Cultural identity can also influence how individuals interact with others. For example, individuals who identify strongly with their culture may be more likely to interact with others who share their cultural identity. They may also be more likely to avoid interacting with people who have different cultural identities. So, cultural identity can have a significant impact on discourse in culture and language. It can influence the way individuals use language, the topic they talk about, and the way they interact with the other. As for the communication system, we have seen before language, it is a communication system that uses sounds, gestures, or marks to transmit information. Those idioms are phrases or expressions that have a figurative meaning and cannot be understood literally. In speech, language, and idiomatic expression are used to convey ideas, emotions, and thought. Language allows us to communicate with others and express our ideas clearly and concisely. Idioms add color and liveliness to language and can be used to express ideas more creative and effectively. For example, in Spanish, the expression lend a hand means to help someone, while the expression dar un paso means to walk for pleasure. These idiomatic expressions cannot be understood literally, but they can convey their meaning clearly and concisely. Language and idiomatic expressions are an important part of human communication. They allow us to communicate with others, express our ideas and thought, and add colors and liveliness, as I said before, to our language. As for simplicity versus formality, they are two important aspects of speech that can affect how a message is perceived. Simplicity refers to the easy with which a message can be understood, while formality refers to the level of courtesy and respect shown in a message. In general, simplicity is preferable to formality in speech, since it makes the message easier to understand. However, here are some situations where formality may be more appropriate, such as in a professional or academic setting. Tips to achieve simplicity in speech. Use words and phrases. Avoid jargon and technical terms. Be concise and direct. Organize your thoughts logically. Use visual aid to support your message. And here are some tips to achieve formality in your speech. Use respectful language. Avoid using formal or vulgar words. Be courteous and considerate of your audience. Adapt your language to the context. By considering simplicity and formality in your speech, you can ensure that your message is understood and received in the intended way. Now, let's see the let's see how cultural influences the language. Cultural culture influences language through the following mechanism. The lexicon. The lexicon of a language refers the culture of the community that speaks it. For example, in Spanish, there are words like siesta, tortilla, or flamenco that are specific to a Spanish culture. Second, grammar. The grammar of a language can also be influenced by culture. For example, in some language, such as Japanese, the order of word in the sentence is very important, while other languages, such as English, the order of word is more flexible. Pragmatics. Since pragmatics is the study of the use of language in social contexts, can be influenced by culture, taking into account that the social norms governing language could vary from culture to culture. It is important to recognize that language is a tool that allows human beings to communicate with each other and share their ideas, knowledge, and experiences. Language is also a form of artistic and creative expression. Through language, human beings can express their feelings, emotions, and thought. Now, let's take a look at these approaches on culture and language as discourse. According to Bolivar Adriana 2019, everything about a society is found in language. You can know a culture and its relationship with other to the extent that you understand its language, and not only as a linguistic. Anyone must do it to be able to relate to the other, understand the other, and above all, dialogue with respect for the other. According to her, it seems that the fashion is for governments to permanently offend and humiliate people through language. We see it in leaders like Trump, Bolsonaro, Macri, and Maduro. For this reason, society and language professionals must be able to formulate discourses of resistance built from the good use of language. She states that no language mm, is more important than another. The more languages we learn, the more doors of interculturality and communication we open. In fact, indigenous language must be rescued for utmost important, and they should be mandatory in a school and university. As for power, Adriana states that we are always constantly constructing our identity, and that becomes evident through language. How we express ourselves and how we express ourselves about other, for her, language by itself does nothing. It is people who use it to relate, manipulate, or keep power. About the current trend to inclusive language, she expresses that language is nothing. It is the people who put that inclusive label because they think that in language, the grammar of language has to coincide with the gender difference. She insists that it is the people who include or exclude, not the language alone. She also agrees with making room for men and women, but not with extreme resources, because what they tend to do is to distort the language. About my conclusions, I have two interesting topics. The first one is cultural linguistic synergy, that refers to the mutual influence between culture, language, and discourse, which is an evidence of a close synergy that shapes the identity of a community. And the wealth and diversity, linguistic and cultural diversity, bring richness and vitality to discourse, enriching the human experience. As we know, speech not only refers to spoken or written words, but also includes gestures, facial expressions, intonation, and other nonverbal elements that communicate meaning. The study of discourse is important for understanding how cultural identities are constructed and maintained, how power and power relationships are negotiated, and how social norms and values are perpetuated or challenged. These are my references. And thank you very much for your attention.